Greetings and welcome. This is the Thursday edition of the Soule of Wisdom. I am Dan. It is lovely to have you here with me today. Producer wife Beth is still somewhat under the weather, unfortunately, so she will not be joining me on today's show, but hopefully she'll be able to join us again tomorrow. So fingers crossed for that, and good thoughts that hopefully she's starting to feel a little bit better here soon. Like yesterday, I'm just going to simply cover one topic for today. But before we do that, I do want to acknowledge that last night the vote for the John Deere contract that we covered in yesterday's episode did get approved. It was like 60-some% approval. So they are going back to work, and congratulations to all parties there that they can get back on with business, and hopefully they have good success for many years to come, both labor and management there. So anyways, before we get going on today's topic, I will remind you to please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving us reviews if you're on the podcast side, hitting the punchy thing if you're on Rumble. We like punchy things there. All of those things do help the show get out in front of other people. You can find us at soulewisdom.com. That is SOULE wisdom.com. There you will find links to past episodes, links to our businesses. I will remind you that we do a lot of handmade artwork kind of stuff that is great for gift giving this time of year. And at soulewisdom.com/learn, you can access the teachable side of what we do, where we can offer up some of our wisdom. As well, our tip jar is available there if you'd like to support the show. Okay, so what I'd like to talk about on this fine Thursday is OSHA. And in case you hadn't heard yesterday, they came out and said that they will not be trying to enforce Biden's mandate on the vaccine right now as this topic makes its way through the court system. So let me start by reading you a little bit of news, and then I will add my commentary after that. So let's go to Mr. Browser. If you're on the visually gifted side, please feel free to play along. This from Fox Business. OSHA suspends implementation of Biden's COVID vaccine until further court order. It talks about how the mandate was originally for employers with 100 or more employees. The Department of Labor, which oversees OSHA, told Fox News Wednesday the agency has suspended implementation and enforcement of the mandate while it remains tied up in court. In an update, OSHA said the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit granted a motion to stay OSHA's COVID-19 vaccination and testing emergency temporary standard and ordered that OSHA take no steps to implement or enforce the ETS until further court notice. Statement adds, while OSHA remains confident in its authority to protect workers in emergencies, OSHA has suspended activities related to the implementation and enforcement of the ETS pending future developments in the litigation. Now, I'm also going to flip over to CNN. They had a similar article. But one of the things that, first of all, I believe is pointed out in both articles is that all of these challenges, and there are 34 of them, have actually been combined. They've been consolidated, and it's all been moved to the Sixth Circuit, which I believe is the same circuit that the Daily Wire filed their lawsuit in, and they were like the lead party. They were like the first in on challenging this mandate. So I believe it all got combined under the circuit court that they were already in, which I think will kind of keep them being the de facto lead on this one. But one of the interesting things, if I can, there it is, in the CNN article, they talk here about how liberal-leaning unions have joined in, arguing in some cases that OSHA's authority, they want it to go further and have a more stringent mandate even, and how they are filing suits in the more liberal-leaning courts in an attempt to try to have a different angle at this to keep the mandate in play. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. First, I would say that the consolidation of all the different parties into one hearing is not surprising. It makes a whole lot of sense for the court to do it that way. As I understand it, it went to the 6th District under a lottery system. It's interesting that that district is reportedly more conservative. So, luck of the draw that the people who are trying to fight this get it to the conservative court, which explains why the labor unions, conversely, are trying to get it into the more liberal side of the equation to try to counteract this and coming at it with a different suit yet, saying that it needs to be even stronger. But I will say, here's my take on all of this. First of all, I want to state that here at the Soule of Wisdom, both the producer wife and I are not anti-vaccine. What we are is we are pro talk to your doctor. We believe that every person should have autonomy over what they do with their body and what medical procedures they go through. Now, granted, a jab in the arm is, in the grand scheme of quote-unquote medical procedures, not a super severe one, but it is a medical procedure nonetheless, and furthermore, it is an irreversible one. Once that goes into your body, you cannot take it back. So on that basis, we're believers that you should talk with your doctor, and then you should make the right choice for you, and that's how that should flow. We've said it on previous podcasts right here at the Soule of Wisdom Homestead. We have some people who are vaccinated and some people who are not. And in each case, that decision has come in consultation with a healthcare provider who, we worked through the pros and the cons with in each case. And we had cases where it made sense to do the vaccine, and then we had cases where, because of other medical stuff going on, it did not. So it's not so cut and dry as mandate that this happens. So I have concerns with that. I also have concerns with any kind of a mandate for some kind of a medical procedure, is that you should now make the employers the policeman on this thing. That makes no sense to me whatsoever, because I will tell you, as a person who has employed hundreds of people back before I went to work for myself, the last thing that I want to be concerned about is what medical stuff the employees got going on. I'm only concerned about it from the standpoint of what kind of time off do they need to be able to take care of their health needs. Beyond that, it's not my business. It has never been my business, and the last thing I want to do is have to go run up to people and say, did you get your jab in the arm yet? No? Okay, well, where's your test proving that you're negative? That is not what I'm there to do. In the case of running any business, I am there to run that business successfully enough that we make money. That's it. Businesses are just that simple. They're not there to police medical standards or social standards or anything else. They're there for a specific purpose, and that's to make money at whatever endeavor that business has as its mission. So I don't like that. There's also HIPAA issues here that nobody seems to talk about. HIPAA is so strict that every time I make a phone call to my wife's doctor, the one who handles her migraines, and we've been public about that, the producer wife has migraines, so sometimes I'm the one that has to make the call because she's not able to. Every time I call in, I have to identify myself and give proof of who I am so that they'll talk with me because of HIPAA. And the only reason that I'm able to even give them proof so they'll talk to me is because my wife has signed off to let me be able to speak. And I'm her husband, and she had to sign all these things. But now we're saying that employers should be able to get in there and talk freely and demand answers on what an employee has going on in their health. I don't think so. So I think that's a huge, huge overreach. The other thing that I would say that's disturbing about this whole idea of a mandate is that it is simply a political move at this point. This, in my mind, has a heck of a lot less to do with the vaccine and a heck of a lot more to do with what tribe you're in and how we're going to try to control things. And the point that I read out of the CNN article, where they were talking about how the more liberal-leaning labor unions are now suddenly getting in the game and trying to file suit in a different direction to point out that it's not strict enough. They want an even larger mandate. It just shows me that it's got nothing to do with the actual health of anybody. It has everything to do with politics and with control of people. And again, none of those things is the purpose of a business. I've talked ad nauseum in many different arenas, including this podcast, about how the purpose of a business is to make money. It is not to get into things, again, like politics. But this idea of whether or not a vaccine is a good thing has suddenly become a political thing for so many. And if you don't believe that, you need to simply just look at the behavior of the left and the right and realize how it's flipped from when Trump was in office. When Trump was in office, the right felt that the vaccine was the greatest thing since the hula hoop, and the left wanted nothing to do with it. And then as soon as Biden took power, the whole thing flipped. It's all about camps and it's all about tribes, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with what's in the best interest of an individual person, which is why, again, we say here, talk with your doctor and determine what is best for you. That's how healthcare should work. It has to be individualized, because we've proven right inside our own home, where we have people who are all of the same bloodline, that in some cases it works for people and in some cases it didn't. So if it was simple as cookie cutter, you would think that our entire home would qualify for the thing. Well, not really. We got a couple that they can't do it because of other issues. So why this should be a political discussion, why this should be something that a employer should have to enforce and ask questions about all the time, and if they don't get the vaccine, that they should have to be asking for this negative test and everything else. It is lunacy. So I'm happy that OSHA has decided that they should just cut this thing off for right now, pending further direction from the court. My guess is they realize that this is an overreach, especially in the court that it's going into. They're probably not going to win favor. But that having been said, you never know what a court is going to do. We've seen that with the Supreme Court, where you're certain, because they're quote-unquote conservative, that they're going to rule one way, and then they don't. They go in a completely different direction. So these things are totally unpredictable, so who knows? But I will say that if this mandate is struck down, in my opinion, I think it is good for business, because I don't think this is something that business needs to be involved with in any way, shape, or form, because you're going to, again, further bifurcate your people. They're already in left and right camps. Do you really need to put them in vaxxed and unvaxxed camps as well? It just makes no sense at all for an employer to be put into a position like that. So I hope, for the sake of all employers, that this thing goes away, because this isn't an arena they need to be involved in. They need to be involved in the arena of making money. That is what they're there for. So that's my take on this whole thing. We'll see where it goes. We're going to continue to cover it. If you have comments or questions on what I have said today, feel free to reach out to me, questions@soulwisdom.com, or if you're on the YouTube or Rumble side, feel free to leave yourself a comment in the video, and I'd be happy to respond to you. Hopefully you enjoyed this today. If you did, please do consider sharing it with others. Sharing is one of the biggest things you can do to get this show out in front of people. So, tweet it out, put it on your Facebook page, things like that. Email it to people, send out smoke signals, whatever you got to do. We appreciate it. And again, hopefully the producer wife will be able to join us on the next show. But in the meantime, I will keep them going until she's ready to go. And tomorrow is Friday. That will be fun, and I look forward to talking to you then. In the meantime, you folks have a great day and take care.